Hello, everybody. Welcome to Awesome Sunday Show. My name's Connor.
I'm Pat.
We are a conversational podcast. We go up weekly, mostly every Sunday, but sometimes we have special episodes that will go up during the week just because we love you very much, don't we, Pat?
Absolutely.
Pat, so we have a particular subject this week that we want to talk about. Well, subjects, but what we're going to start off with today is about a certain author who writes a certain little-known book series that's not very popular.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of unknown. He's kind of, like, pretty obscure.
Yeah.
You guys probably never heard about him.
His name's George R.R. Martin. I don't know if you ever heard of the Song of Fire and Ice.
Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah,
Something like
Game
that.
of Boobs. Just never any boobs.
Game of vicious non-sex at all.
Yeah, I heard it's the most unviolent, non-nude show out there.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. But yeah, so this author, George R.R. Martin, who's probably one of the biggest names out there right now, with one of the biggest television shows out there. Also with
one of the best-selling series.
Book
series, and yeah, I mean, obviously Game of Thrones is insanely popular.
Yeah, it's insane. I don't really know why. I don't really care for it, but
to each their own. But
just lost a fan.
Since yeah, all the fans that we have.
Yeah, seriously.
Like to,
that could be a podcast itself because I know you like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's whatever. But yeah, since he's extremely well known and extremely popular right now, basically anything he says,
his opinion matters.
His opinion matters, and it's going to be, a big deal. And so recently he made some comments saying he was tired of in the state of the comic movies and TV shows. He's sick of seeing a lot of villains have the same powers and basically being extremely similar to the heroes that they're battling, which makes sense. And the most recent example of that would be in Ant-Man between Scott Lang and the Yellow Jacket.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, just in general, especially with the Marvel movies, I like the Ironmonger, Iron Man, Abomination, Hulk. Even, I mean, as much as I love the Captain America series, Red Skull, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Captain America, they're the same. I mean, Loki is a little different than Thor, but he's still kind of the same.
Yeah, and the Destroyer, which was kind of the minor villain to that.
Yeah.
And then, well, I think one kind of difference, though, is Guardians of the Galaxy with Ronan. He's similar, but at the same time, he's, compared to the whole team, he's kind of very different.
Well, he is very different. He is probably the most different, but he's still not like, he's just a super powerful guy.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, Ronan was sick.
Oh,
I thought he was awesome, but I mean, and that's not a knock, but it's what he is. I'm still like, I can see what he's saying about the villains being boring. They're just having the same powers. He's like thinking something different.
Yeah, I mean, they have. It makes sense for them to do that, especially like in the earlier movies.
Yes.
Like like the origin story movies. It makes sense, because while that hero, like if we're talking Iron Man 1. The Ironmonger, Obadiah Stane, it makes sense because it's the first origin movie. You want to get some familiarity with the character, and you don't want to use their best villain right away.
Yes.
Not that he was a bad villain, but you want to, in the origin story, you really want to show a contrast between the hero and their villain, and you want somebody who basically is the opposite side of the coin to them.
Yeah, and it's not like it hasn't worked yet. I mean,
no, it hasn't been bad.
In fact, if anything, it was the villain that was the most different. Actually, so far in the Marvel, we're talking about the cinematic universe, and as far as DC and Marvel, the villain with the most contrast and the most different. Wow, with powers that were nowhere near the same was Iron Man 3 with Guy Pearce.
Yeah, that's true.
And that ended up being the worst one. So, I mean,
yeah, I mean it's
kind of like, well, we wish the villains were different, but the one that was the most different,
sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah.
And that movie itself was just set up to be bad. I don't know if it was because they used a villain who is very different from the hero. I think that just that instance suffered because of the movie itself.
Yeah, I think that's true. But it's still, that villain sucked, though.
Yeah. And you know what? Just because the villains have, similar tech, similar powers to the hero, doesn't mean it's going to be, 100% like sure hit. Doesn't mean it's going to be bad. And so far, it hasn't really been boring. I don't think.
I don't think it's been boring. Like in Ant-Man, the more I think about Ant-Man, the more I like it. Like when we saw it, and also like we did that review at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
When we saw it, I was like, oh, that was pretty good. But like the more I think about it, I'm like, besides with all the jump cuts and like, some of like the rush, feeling of emotion, that movie was awesome.
It was a great movie.
Yeah, it was really good. It wasn't perfect, but I mean, it doesn't have to be. And we already talked about that in a review. But the
Yellow Jacket.
Yellow Jacket was probably one of my favorite villains so far, like within the MCU.
He was a great villain. I think he kind of fits what George R.R. Martin was talking about.
I think that's exactly what George R.R. Martin. I mean, it came right after Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I think finally George R.R. Martin was like, "Come on!"
Like the Yellow Jacket concept was great. I mean, the execution was great. The suit was fucking amazing.
That suit was so good.
It was one of the best in the MCU, like one of the best, villain garbs or even superhero garbs. Like any of the, it's on par with the top Iron Man suits.
It is, and I like the character himself.
I like the actor. He's a great actor, but he was a pretty good character. But I think the reason that fits so well is because he was kind of one-dimensional.
And but that's not always a bad thing. That whole movie was one-dimensional.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it was a bad thing, but I think that he was kind of one-dimensional. Not that it hindered the story or their performance or anything. But you know what, though? It made sense because Scott Lang kind of got thrust into the role of Ant-Man.
Yeah.
So it made sense for them to use a villain in this case with similar powers or similar tech or whatever, because Scott he was basically learning on the fly.
On the fly.
Yeah. No insect pun intended. But he was new to his powers, so it makes sense for him to go against, and then he was learning about his own powers and tech while fighting the Yellow Jacket as it was.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of having a villain the same powers or whatever is really a good stepping stone for the hero to, I mean, not that they're going to master their skills right away, but to build off it, because they're going the same thing. Like, he's like, okay, well, if I use it like this and he uses it like that, which way's better? I could build it off like this. So it makes sense for them to start off each origin story using a villain that's similar. I don't really mind it, and it's going to happen because that's how there's so many characters that are just like each other.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also too I feel like some of the greatest villains are either are almost the same or very different. Like Joker and Batman are very different, but then how many Flash villains are there that have the Speed Force? But they're some of the best villains.
They are. They really are. And I understand where he's coming from. I don't necessarily agree. I don't think it's a huge issue. And another example is the Green Lanterns and the Sinestro Corps.
Yeah.
Sinestro is Hal Jordan's probably most biggest enemy, his most popular one. But they both use power rings. They have the same set of powers. Their rings have different, a few different specialties to each ring, which comes with the specialty of the emotional spectrum. Every different corp has their own certain powers, but for the most part, they do the same things.
Well, I think Green Lantern is an exception because when it comes to imagination and the constructs. That's where you would actually if I were George R.R. Martin, and I'm just saying if I were, and I did have a problem with villains having the same powers or very similar powers to the hero, I think Green Lantern would be an exception just because would be really sick to see people fight and think of the constructs that they have.
Oh, it is. And you know what? It's not even just like the difference between the heroes and the villains. Each of the lanterns of any corp, all their constructs usually and like the things they come up with are very different from each other.
Yep.
Like if you think about it, between Hal Jordan, John Stewart, and Kyle Rayner, they all use them very differently. Like John Stewart's
being the best.
Well, his are the most solid. And
Yeah.
like I was reading, I don't know, I was looking more into John Stewart because I read about him every day because I love him. He's my bae. But anyway,
my black bae.
One of the like biggest things about his constructs is because he was an architect. His are so detailed that in certain things, like say he uses like he makes a catapult construct.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the construct, you can see every single like nut, bolt, everything that would actually build a working catapult built into it instead of just like an empty sort of thing. And then Kyle Rayner, he was like a graphic artist or something. So his are kind of out there. His are like really creative. Like he'll throw in some animals and he'll throw in some like things that Hal Jordan wouldn't think of. His are kind of, he uses a lot of like.
Well, he was in the Air Force, so a lot of his constructs are missiles, planes, military items.
Yeah, military items and like some sort of vehicle things.
The only one I'm kind of unsure of is like Guy Gardner.
Yeah, I don't know, because his vary like depending on the story, like because at certain points he gets really cocky, so he starts trying to be a little flashy, but then there's parts where he kind of is losing his mind and he goes crazy, and then
there's parts where he actually gains a lot of humility.
Yeah, and
like especially during Blackest Night, like that was he wasn't as cocky. I want to say humility is kind of a strong word for Guy Gardner, but like he's
more level-headed.
Yeah, he is more level-headed. He's a lot. He changes a lot.
Yeah, and then even like the New 52, he's a Red Lantern, or he started off as a Red Lantern. I haven't really kept up with him, but. And then even then his constructs, hard to keep up with
Guy Gardner.
Yeah, his constructs get very different again because of like the new spectrum that he's a part of.
Yeah,
the rage of the Red Lantern.
I mean, like we can both agree that would be like really the only exception between between villain and hero.
Kind of. It depends on the situation. Like
they
have the same powers, but at the same time, depending on the personality of the user, it's very different. And that's what I think, like, with any characters, heroes, villains, whatever, who have the same powers, as long as their personalities are different enough, it can still be really interesting.
I don't even know if different's the right word. I would just, like, if their personalities clash or if they're interesting to watch to be together. Like
you brought up the Flash before. There's so many speedsters, yet each one, like, provides such a great contrast against each other, like between Barry Allen and Airbud Thawne, the his Reverse Flash, basically their personalities, they clash, and especially because Airbud is like obsessed with Barry and really wants to just ruin him. Yet if you look at Wally West and basically his Reverse Flash, Hunter Zolomon, Professor Zoom, like
Professor Zoom.
They started off both as police officers, but then through Zolomon's rage and tapping into the negative Speed Force and becoming Professor Zoom, their personalities end up basically becoming different and clashing and are kind of polar opposites of each other. And it works. Sure, they have the same powers.
Yeah.
But it changes, and the same thing goes with any other speedsters or like Superman and General Zod.
Yeah, and that fight was awesome.
The fight was awesome, and like depending on the powers, it doesn't matter if they have similar ones. It can still make for a great fight, just like that. Like they have the same powers. I mean, Superman, was more used to the Earth's yellow sun, but Zod, kind of was more powerful because he was vicious. But it was also the dynamic between the two that made it not boring.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like and this is where I disagree with George Martin in another way too, is like I understand what he's saying and it's not wrong. Like I would like to see I would like to see a villain with vastly different powers fight a hero. With, with fight like maybe like a hero that has super strengths fights like Hulk and Leader.
Yeah.
Like that kind of fight. And that would be really cool to see on TV or in movies, but I don't know. Trying to think of comic book movies in general. I just feel like always the best ones where the hero and villain are different in personality but have the same powers. That's where they meet and that's where they share. That's what they have in common.
Yeah, and that's what they have to overcome the similarity of their powers, and it comes down to their wills and what they're willing to do. Between Iron Man and Ironmonger, their suits are essentially the same, but they have, some key differences, and it's up to, Ironmonger's suit was probably more powerful than whatever the Iron Man, what was it, the Mark II that he was using in the movie? Or did he, in that fight, was he using the 3?
I think it was Mark III.
All right,
because I forget, but it was I'll put fire red or I'll make it hot rod color or whatever.
Yeah. So even though that was the 3rd incarnation, technically the second real Iron Man suit that he made, because the first one was being the one that he made in the desert.
Yeah.
Just shows that Stane was he thought ahead to outclass his Iron Man suit. So it was up, while they were similar at their essence, they still had a lot of difference, and it showed by their different styles of fighting. So it happens, but it's how they're written that makes it either interesting or boring.
Yeah, it's not. I guess it has very little to do with the powers, really, and that's why you went pretty in depth with it, and I really couldn't really add to more what you just said. Besides adding to the I said before, it's you kind of really added to what I said before. Is that it's cool watching people with the same powers fight each other. It's that's very simple minded, but but it really just goes hand in hand with what you just said.
It also depends on how you look at it. He might be looking at it. He goes in with a negative view of it because he goes, oh, they have the same powers. Oh, this is going to be boring. But you have to set that aside. So what? They have the same powers or the same tech or whatever. That's not what will make it a good fight. That's not what will make it entertaining or boring or anything. It's the characters and how they go about using those and the differences between them two, the inherent, the obvious, and then the ones that
how far
come out of during the battle. Yeah.
I mean, because spoiler, major spoiler at minute 17. Ant-Man, how far they're willing to go to use their powers when Scott, goes down to subatomic to save his daughter's and his daughter's stepdad's life, and to damage the Wasp suit from the inside. So he had to go subatomic. Yellow Jacket. Why do I keep doing that? Wasp.
It's okay. Yeah. But yeah, and you know what? And
Yellow Jacket would never do that.
He would go the complete opposite way. He'd be willing to slaughter, vaporize Scott's daughter in order to get Scott into a fury and gain the upper hand on him.
Right.
It depends on how far they're willing to go and in which direction they're willing to go. Like going selfish, or pure evil.
Batshit crazy.
Batshit crazy, which Yellow Jacket was.
Yes.
He
was just insanely jealous too. So that's where that's where the fact that having the same powers isn't boring anymore. Because it's how far would each one go to accomplish what they have to accomplish, and what aspect?
Yeah, you can't look at it and be like, oh, they have the same powers. That's not what's important to it.
Right.
And I think that's a one-sided view to look at it. That's why I also disagree with George Martin, because that kind of seems like how he's looking at it in a very one-sided, basically establishing a negative attitude towards it just because they have the same power, the same tech, or whatever.
Yeah, and I get it. I'm not gonna say he's wrong because
it's an opinion.
It's an opinion. Yeah, it's not it's not like he's saying freaking Clorox doesn't kill germs or something like that. It's like, oh no, it's a fact. Like it does. Like it's like he's not saying anything stupid. He's saying like, hey, this is just my opinion, and it's just I get it. There's so many villains that have the same powers, but it's like it's worked, and it has. And I haven't seen shots. I haven't been bored by it.
No, I haven't really been bored by it. I haven't seen it failed. I haven't seen it in a instance that I didn't like it. Like all the ones we mentioned, I've enjoyed. You know, with the exception of the fucking fake Mandarin and the extremists. But even then, it was a difference. But if that movie didn't suck, it could have been a great.
It could have been a good
battle.
example.
Yeah, it could have been a great difference.
What's you know what sucks too is that like Marvel looks at that as a huge win because critically and commercially it did really good, but fan wise for us, people like us, we hate it.
And you know what? If I wasn't a comic book fan, or not really too much into it, it is a good movie itself.
Yeah, that's what sucks.
It's not
about
the
most.
movie that's bad. It was just
the decisions.
That decision in particular.
And like I try not
like
to,
there was some other decisions up to that led up to that I wasn't big on, but yeah. And
I try not to because like it's an adaptation. Like things are gonna change a lot in a movie. I mean, like just look at the MCU in general. Like and every movie they've changed a lot of things.
Yeah, like Yellow Jacket was it was a surprise for them to use the Yellow Jacket persona as a villain.
Yeah,
that's
Hank Pym. Like.
And it worked. It's just a difference
because you know what it was. It was like I feel like there was still respect.
Yeah.
Towards it.
Well, I don't think that Shane Black used disrespect towards it. I think he just wanted to mix it up a bit, but
the execution
different. Was poor.
Yeah, it was just I just feel like there wasn't a lot of confidence behind the decision.
And you know what?
People thought that was funny, like. That scene, like when I was in the movies with Cass, like people were laughing
because it was funny. The character that Ben Kingsley ended up being, the fake Mandarin, he was really a British actor. That scene, that reveal, his real personality is funny, but it was still an irritating decision.
Yeah, it's just you can't
if they didn't make Guy Pearce claim to be the real Mandarin, which we know he obviously isn't. Then the reveal of Ben Kingsley basically being a pawn wouldn't have been that bad.
Yeah.
And one thing after thinking about Mandarin and re-looking through some stuff, in Ant-Man. When they go to buy the Yellow Jacket prototype, the guy who used to be in S.H.I.E.L.D., he comes with 2 Hydra agents. One of them has the 10 rings tattoo on his neck, I think.
Right.
The official 10 rings.
So that's why I still hold out. I want there to be a day where I see the real Mandarin on screen, and he's the Mandarin.
Yeah.
And I look back at Iron Man 3, not as bad.
Yeah, I mentioned the Marvel one-shot. There is acknowledgement of a real Mandarin. And up until this point, he would have fit there, but since then, he probably wouldn't fit into the MCU right now because he's very mystical. But maybe once Doctor Strange comes out after that, it could affect it.
Right. I think you're right. And Cumberbatch being Doctor Strange,
I think that's a great choice.
That is the best choice.
Rachel McAdams is in talks to be the female lead. They haven't announced what character it's not confirmed yet, but she's in talks to appear in it.
Did they pick Captain Marvel yet?
I don't think so. There was rumors, but it's nothing set in stone. I don't think. I honestly don't think they have yet, and they haven't said which Captain Marvel they're gonna do.
I thought it's gonna be the girl.
Well, no, it is gonna be a girl, but it's Captain Marvel, Captain Marvel, or
Captain Marvel,
the Islamic girl. I forget what her name is.
Yeah, Captain Marvel is honestly something I kind of lack knowledge in.
Yeah,
The only Captain Marvel I'm really I'm aware of is the one from the Kree Skull War and like
Yeah.
from the Avenger like that like the 1970s Avengers comic line.
Yeah, basically the only thing that's confirmed is it's going to be one of the female Captain Marvels.
That's something I want to do more research on because people love Captain Marvel.
Yeah, and I understand why. It's not that I have avoided it. I just haven't, really gone too much into it. But obviously, by the time the movie comes out, I'm gonna be looking more into it.
Yeah, I think I'll buy some comics. I'll buy I'll read a little more on her. Like, that's something I would want to hear. But then again, what if she fights a villain that's just like her? Like,
well,
by then will we be sick of it? You think, Pat? Will we kind of start to get on the George Martin train?
Only if it's boring.
That's a good point. If it's not boring, then who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the fight is still good, the reasoning behind it is interesting, the characters are interesting, I won't mind it.
Yeah, that's how I'm really in the same boat. It's hard to talk about something that you completely agree with. All right, yeah, we agree.
Maybe we should just call up George Martin and be like, hey, you want to come join?
He would totally come on our podcast.
Oh, yeah, he's not super busy and not way behind in a book, the most anticipated book in the entire series.
Yeah.
Not at all.
He has 2 more left, right?
I think so, yeah. But it's been like 5 or 6 years since the last release, and now the series has caught up to and might have to pass that book. He's trying to get it out by the time season 6 comes out.
But what's taking him so long?
The books, I only started reading the first one. I'm not doing it, but they're thousands and thousands of pages long, and it's a really intricate story because every book is connected, and there's so many, the way his books are set up, they go chapters. The chapters are different characters. It'll go from Jon Snow to Daenerys, then to Tyrion. That's how the chapters are set up.
Okay.
And there's a connection usually between all of them. He's basically think about how all the Marvel movies have a connection like that. I mean, it's probably
right.
Most people probably wouldn't agree with that, but it's kind of like that.
You're just trying to paint a picture,
yeah, that, and he writes on MS-DOS still, which he's probably the only person in the world who still uses that. MS-DOS.
DOS.
I swear to God. Probably the only person in the world who still uses it.
I want to see him.
I'm surprised he has a fucking computer that can still work.
I'm surprised he still doesn't use a typewriter.
Yeah.
You might as well.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously.
MS-DOS. Dude, I saw at the OCC library, I saw a training manual for Windows 98.
Jesus Christ.
Why do you still have that?
Did you ever see the when Windows 98 came out, they basically did a web series with Jennifer Aniston and Matthew Perry, who were as their friends characters, going over Windows 98 and learning all about it, and they did a couple different videos that came installed with Windows 98 about it. It was the most cringeworthy fucking thing in the world.
Dude, that reminds me of because at the same time, that's it really it was when Windows 98 rolled out, was when the internet was becoming a thing.
Yeah,
I remember Windows 95, it was it wasn't even Internet Explorer. I want to say it might have been Internet Explorer, but it was I think it might have been MSN.
Yeah,
there.
Probably.
And then Windows 98, when that came out, it was that's when the internet started kind of going around. You would see commercials about oh, what are you doing today? Oh, John. The reason why I'm saying this is because John Oliver has one of the best parody videos I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it's oh, I got to do this, and that. I got to drive. It was well, you can do your banking, your booking, everything on the internet, America Online.
Oh my God.
And then John Oliver's video is about harassment, and it's the same guy as it's I forget the actor's name, but just look up Last Week Tonight online harassment parody video. It's just, did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's so good.
Those are days getting 12 AOL discs in the mail every day.
Yep. I miss America Online. Dude, I miss Windows 98 because that operating system was awesome. For the time, it worked.
Oh yeah, for the time, yeah.
Yeah, for the time it was awesome, but Windows XP.
The best.
It was the best. It still is to this day. I just got Windows 10 today. I don't really know how it's going to pan out, but
Yeah, I
hopefully
think
it's better than 8.
XP is the best to this day, followed by Windows 7.
I think, they should make a movie on, like, because it always so happens, it's kind of like the Star Trek movies, like the odd number or whatever. No, not the odd. Well, not anymore because they skipped Windows 9 and went to 10, which was weird. It's always like the Windows. Every other Windows is always better than the other. Like Windows 8 sucks, but supposedly Windows 10 is going to be really good. But like Windows 7 was really good, but Vista was like trash. Yeah. They should have a movie because like they're all so similar, just to piss off George R.R. Martin. Where the Windows fight, like the good Windows is like Windows 7 and like Windows XP and like Windows 90.
Or like, they just take a shit on MS-DOS.
And then like 95 and 2000 are like the villains, and like Vista's like the leader of the villains.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a well-received movie.
Yeah, but it would be a movie that we would enjoy.
It would be one of the ones like it's so bad you love it.
That's like it's like a Sharknado.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the new one.
Neither have I, but I really want to. I love 1 and 2.
Yeah, I still can't believe that. The guys who made Sharknado are making a horror movie with the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC apparently, or at least definitely the Backstreet Boys. I'm not sure about NSYNC.
That is everything I want in life.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. But we, just went really out of the way.
Well, I mean, for 25 minutes we talked about.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we tend to do that anyway, but well. Yeah, but I mean, I basically, I don't know if any of you agree or disagree with George R.R. Martin, but yeah, I guess you could let us know if you even give a shit. But yeah,
it would be awesome to get a comment on one of our videos from someone we don't know.
Yeah.
My grandma texted me the other day saying she's going to listen to all of our podcasts.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So please spread the word so my grandma doesn't have to comment on our YouTube videos.
Yeah, and hear her dear old grandson using some foul language.
Hey, well, I actually don't really curse that bad on here sometimes, unless I'm mad.
Maybe I should show her the tests.
All right. The test will be like a special release one day.
Yeah, those. I have a lot of good ones. They're very fucked up, but still funny at the same time.
All right. Well, I think we'd be like the next Hulk Hogan, like YouTube.
Except we won't get erased from any Hall of Fame.
Yeah, YouTube would just take us off their website. Oh gosh. All right. So I think we should probably wrap up this topic. We take a nice break.
Yeah, we'll take a break and then we'll get back to topic number 2.
Pat, topic number 2. You want to give them a little hint what it might be?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the criticism faced in particularly Marvel. I mean, DC really hasn't had the opportunity, thankfully, to do this, but the lack of strong female roles, female superheroes, and the kind of tropiness that they've used so far in the MCU.
That was like the whole answer. I asked for a hint. And you just gave him the whole answer to the test.
Well, fucking too bad.
All right. Well, on that note, let's take a break.
All right, guys, we're back. And as I said before the break, we're going to be talking about the lack of or very little and poor execution of female superheroes, strong female leads, solo films, and all that. So basically, that's the biggest criticism that's facing comic book movies today, especially Marvel.
Yeah.
Because the DC Cinematic Universe really has only just gotten started. But Marvel has had, 11, 12 films?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I don't think it's really Marvel's fault, though.
I mean, they probably didn't even, when they were planning out, they probably didn't think of it or realize. But
it's not like a bunch of sexists running.
No. And it's not like they don't. It doesn't even have to be that one of the it doesn't even have to be the lack of female superheroes. It's just like, think about it. other than Black Widow, no other female character has been like really prominent or been like a really strong character for the most part. You know, like even Pepper Potts, she's been in every Iron Man movie, and she's kind of here and there done like a big contribution, but for the most part, she's kind of like a side note.
I mean, she was the biggest contribution in Iron Man 3. When she,
but even then, she ended up being like a damsel in distress. Like she fell into a trope. And
I thought where she shined the most was in Iron Man 1, where the like reporter like makes fun of her. Oh, still doing whatever Tony Stark says, hey, including take out the trash. Like,
yeah,
dude. When I first saw that, I was like, yeah.
Like, her best, her best performances and like best parts of the Iron Man trilogy were in Iron Man 1. If you think about it, because she, made him aware that his kidnapping was intentional and that it was Obadiah Stane was setting him up, and like without her getting into his office and stealing that information, he wouldn't have known. And she basically helped Tony adjust to becoming Iron Man. And even in Iron Man 3, she tried. He kind of shut her out, but she was trying to work with him and help him through those panic attacks and everything.
Yeah, he was such a dick to her. Like, yeah. I was like, I'm watching this. I'm like, what person? Why are we going back to Iron Man 3? Like,
because there's a lot of things wrong with it.
Yeah, I just like where he's like, this is my address, like blah blah blah. It's like, yo, your girlfriend lives there, like
that. And when he says that, when he's initially starts saying that, there's a guy recording him with the flip phone, and then like once they cut back. Then they zoom in on Tony saying it, and then when they cut back to show the guy included, he has a smartphone, which is like just a really stupid error.
Yeah,
but yeah, like he put Pepper at risk, and
that
the
just didn't
house
make sense.
Got bombed. Like he put her
that house
at risk.
Was so cool too.
Yeah, he put her at risk to a huge terrorist who's, blowing up half the world.
Yeah, that was just so stupid.
Like, that was, extremely stupid, and it was extremely careless. So, yeah, like, and Pepper's a good character herself. I'm not the biggest Gwyneth Paltrow fan, but I do think she's still been underutilized for the most part. Black Widow is obviously the biggest female name in the MCU right now.
Yeah.
And she's a great character, and Scarlett Johansson does a great job. And like the one good thing is she's been in the MCU a lot. She's been in most of the movies since Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
And her role has gotten bigger, especially in Winter Soldier and Ultron.
Yeah. She's become she's actually interesting because throughout the movie series, she becomes like this like sex like symbol and she's hot. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love watching her on screen. Like,
yeah, she's like a sex symbol, but she kicks major ass.
Yeah, which is awesome because I think that's hot. Like, I mean that's just me. Let's not get into what I like. But then she becomes like tragic. I mean, especially in Winter Soldier and Avengers 2, like you see like a really sad side of her. Like, and even in Avengers 1, you kind of get a hint of like, why she doesn't really talk about the past.
Well, I mean, it shows in Age of Ultron when Scarlet Witch messes with her mind. We get a glimpse into the tragic upbringing she experienced. Mm-hmm. And like they sterilized her in the Black Widow program. Like that would, finding out you can't have kids, just out of the blue, in a normal person's life would be terrible, but the fact that it was a requirement of her and she had no choice, that's literally, that's really tragic.
Yeah, it's like you took away you took away something from her that she'll never get back, and
it humanized her.
Yeah, it's like weird. Like I've never really seen that, especially in a superhero movie, where you take someone who's really just there just to be visually appealing to something where you're like, oh my god, like I'm really like I was more emotionally attached to her. It's weird. In in Avengers: Age of Ultron, I cared way more about Bruce Banner, Scarlet Witch. I'm sorry, Black Widow and Hawkeye. Way more than I did in the first Avengers.
Yeah, and I think that was intentional, and I think that was a good decision.
That was a really good choice.
And you know what? Because like Black Widow is a great character. She has so much unexplored history, and like the fact that her role becomes bigger in every movie, like particularly Winter Soldier, it's great. It's it's refreshing. I don't think Winter Soldier. I mean, it's a great movie regardless, but she was extremely important to the story, extremely important to
she needed to
the
be
events.
there.
Like,
I still wish Hawkeye was in that movie.
Yeah, but I mean, him and just about everybody else can be in Civil War. But like, but the one bad thing about Black Widow that Marvel is, it's kind of, you gotta think it's kind of intentional, or like it's just terrible decision making. She's being cut out of the merchandise.
That might just be product of sales, though. Like, we don't know what goes behind closed doors.
Yeah, but like, like you can get, for Age of Ultron, you can get a set of all the characters, and like she's either not included or is like a crappier version of the other toys. And like in the Target commercial for them, like I don't even remember seeing her in it.
Yeah, I don't remember at all either.
And like even Mark Ruffalo has said something about it. He goes, Marvel, how about we get some more Black Widow merchandise so my nieces can have, a strong female, toy or whatever. And like for one of the stars of the series to, call him out, like it shows it's a really big issue. And like, Black Widow, people want a solo movie for her, and Kevin Feige's like, yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, there's nothing in the plans right now, but I think a solo movie for her would be great. Not just because Scarlett Johansson's a great actress, but the character itself. There's so much. Like, I would want to see her history. Like, I mean, we got a glimpse of it in Age of Ultron, but like, her, like more in depth of her history, like from her time exiting the Black Widow program to her time as a international spy.
I would love an origin Black Widow story.
And then like leading up to her joining S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, I think that'd make a great movie.
I think that would be great. Yeah, I 100% agree. And then like in the movie, like her and Hawkeye meeting for the first time.
Yeah. And you know what? Usually the origin stories happen at their introduction into the universe, like the movie universe, but I still think it would work. It doesn't matter that she's been in like 5-6 movies or whatever.
People would know that it's a prequel. Like, it would be the first Marvel movie to breach the timeline in a different way, because every movie takes place right afterwards. There is a timeline, so that's why it would be. That's why I don't think I would ever get my hopes up for a Black Widow origin movie. But I think that'd be awesome. I would love to see that. Or it doesn't even have to be like it could take place in a present MCU timeline, but
but we still see I mean, it could even lead up to, or be like sort of like like leading up to a present time event, but just have like a lot of history in it too, like a lot of her history in it. And then like Captain Marvel's arriving pretty late to the scene for like a female superhero. Like, she's like, DC's gonna beat Marvel to a standalone female superhero film with Wonder Woman that's coming out in 2017.
But see, I don't think that's really Marvel's. Like, I know I said this before, but I don't. It's not really Marvel's fault. Like, I don't think it's not really anybody's fault. It's just kind of a shame.
Yeah, it is. It's a shame. That's what it is. It's not like they intentionally did it or anything.
Yeah,
but
they
it
weren't
is
like
kind
scheming like, oh, let's not get women like on.
It is. Yeah, it is kind of a shame though, and like I get why there's a lot of criticism about it, and it's it's still kind of disappointing. Even but it's got to be more disappointing for like female fans. And
right, because there is just a relating factor to it.
Yeah, just
like,
a natural relation to it.
I mean, chat like to another podcast I listen to, Nintendo Voice Chat. I listen to it every week. One of the leaders is a GM of IGN, and when they announced Fallout 4 that you can be a female character, he goes, "My daughter, who was 12 years old, her eyes like lit up." He's like, "Finally, like
yeah, and
and that's like I feel like comic now she's a video game fan, whoever she is, I don't but I'm just saying now how many female comic book fans are like desperately waiting like
yeah. And you know what? It's not even like I would still like to see like a female solo-led film, but it's probably not the same feeling for us than it would be for like a female fan.
Yeah,
and that's not trying to sound sexist or misogynist or anything. It's just
that's just being relatable.
It's just that's just how it is.
We relate to a guy superhero and what he goes through. And like there's gonna be things in like when there's gonna be things in the Wonder Woman movie and in the Captain Marvel movie where girls gonna be like, oh yeah, that's totally what would make total sense. We're kind of like it's more of a female dynamic. Not that would make it better or worse for us. We would probably still just enjoy it just as much as any other movie, but
it's just we have a different perspective, and like I get the criticism, I understand, I support it. But we don't have the same feeling about it, say, like a female fan would. Yeah. And like with the Fallout introducing, you can play as a female character. That is still a big deal. So think about it, most major video games, kind of male centric.
It's what it is. It's like fighting video games have always been kind of ahead of their time, and like the fact that there's female fighters, like in Street Fighter 2, when you can be Chun-Li, like. I mean, Nintendo was really the first one to break the mold in the NES, making Samus. You find out that she's a girl the whole time, and at a time where video games it's like Contra and like Double Dragon, and like Castlevania, even like Super Mario Brothers, which is like cute Italian plumbers, but like normally an Italian plumber is a big guy that can rip a pipe up from your ground because he's a big plumber, and it's like that really you would think that would. People would follow suit, but it's just no, it just hasn't happened really. But I think there's a bright future.
Yeah, and like another thing was going along with video games is for the most recent Assassin's Creed, I think like the last 2 or 3, people have been questioning Ubisoft for not including like a female assassin, and they go, oh, it would be too time consuming to change it. But really, how hard is that to do?
Yeah, see, that's what I don't get is like I know it's like especially with 3D games, especially with the new generation, how hard it is to develop games. Even though the technology is there, it's not just a simple palette swap.
Yeah.
So I understand from that point, but it's like you're Ubisoft.
They are one of the biggest developers in the world.
Yeah, I can see if it was like
they have the resources.
I can see if it was like an independent game company. It's like, listen, we just don't have like our Kickstarter project. We just don't have the money right now to do it. He goes, if our game and like I would respect like if our game sells well, then we'll do an update. But like you're Ubisoft. First off, you release games that don't work. Yeah, like I haven't.
That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. That's another podcast for another day. But,
yeah. Going back to comic book movies, like Gamora was kind of different. I mean, like Guardians of the Galaxy did things a lot very different to most of the movies.
Yeah.
Think about it, like going back to like the villain and how he was probably the most different. But like Gamora is, she's obviously one of the biggest members of Guardians of the Galaxy, and she's a great character. And she's like another character with like a really dark past and who can kick a lot of ass, but she still fell into some tropes in the movie.
Yeah, but I feel like she fell into tropes, but like you sense a feeling of uncomfortableness from her.
Yeah.
So like that's why I didn't really mind. And this is the thing with Marvel movies too. Like that's why like they're unfortunately, and hopefully this changes. there isn't a lot of huge Marvel superheroes that are female. There's classic ones that comic book fans love, like She-Hulk is awesome.
Yeah.
Black Cat from Spider-Man, awesome.
And then again, there's some, like, a lot of the X-Men female characters are really great, but that's out of Marvel's
they're always
control.
a part of a team.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Or it's like,
but if they're part of a team, that's not bad. It's just that, since, like, Marvel doesn't have the rights to the X-Men, like, if they had the rights to X-Men, it would be different because there's so many great female characters in X-Men. I mean, luckily they have the rights to Scarlet Witch,
right?
Who is, in the comics is a mutant, but she's a great character, and I'm glad that they included her.
I could see her getting her own solo movie.
I could see that, and it would, hopefully they can get one of, like, her big storylines. But now that she's an Avengers member, she's played by Elizabeth Olsen, who's a great actress. And she's going to be in the new Captain America. Like, she's going to get, I think she can get to be one of the biggest characters in the MCU.
Yeah.
And you know what? And she's, like, crazy powerful. And since we, only got a glimpse of her, we're going to see her become more powerful. Like, in the comics, if you think about it, she's a Omega level mutant, which is, like, top tier.
Yes.
For,
she's
those
one of the
who
most
don't
powerful.
know.
She's like, there's very few mutants Omega level, like Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, she is crazy powerful. Like, she can even create alternate dimensions, like House of M.
mm-hmm.
Where she created a whole new world, basically. Because
she's one of the reasons why the mutants became an endangered species too.
Yeah, it's because she got manipulated into doing so. But yeah, that's just, like, shows how powerful she is. And now that she's finally in the MCU, like, the more we see her, the more her powers will grow, the more badass she'll become. Especially in Civil War, she's definitely going to play a big role. And it's going to be good to see her and Black Widow together, like, having another strong female character on the Avengers team. And maybe they can include Maria Hill more.
Yeah.
Even though she's not, well, she's not a superhero. Neither is, Black Widow technically is a hero, but, like, Maria Hill's still a very strong character because she's one of the leaders of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. Another thing too, I was thinking, like, these are all powerful characters, but they're not like Wolverine powerful, like Superman powerful. And not saying there aren't women like that. Like, Captain Marvel's very powerful, obviously. This is something I wanted to bring up to you. Meanwhile, like, all the points you brought up were really good. But this is something I thought of. It's a lot of female superheroes in both DC and Marvel are just a answer to, how do we please our female fans? Well, let's make a black girl.
Yeah.
Or, like, let's make a Spider-Woman or a Spider-Girl, Yeah. And it's just, granted, a lot of those characters are awesome. Like, Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, is one of my favorite DC characters.
Yeah, she's
especially the
awesome.
New 52 Batgirl, like the new one. She's awesome.
It really is, yeah.
And that's not a knock against that, but there's not a lot of original female superheroes.
True.
They're always like, it's She-Hulk. Black Cat is like original, but like, how many female superheroes are there that are just like the same as the guy?
Yeah, but depending on how they're written, they could still be good. I
don't
want it to be
that's not a bad
anything.
thing.
But yeah, even
there's not a lot of originals.
Yeah, that's
it's
fine.
like it's like one year you're gonna have, a Spider-Man movie, and then the year, let's make Spider-Woman this year. Like, is there ever gonna be a Batgirl movie? Probably not. She might be in a Batman movie.
Well, yeah, it's not even it's not necessarily that they need their solo films. Like, some female characters, like, I would love, like Black Widow, kind of an exception. I think she'd have a great solo film.
Yeah, I think she has the best chance of having a better solo film, even though she's probably not going to have
Yeah,
one.
And, they don't really, it's not they don't necessarily need solo films. They just, it kind of seems that, they shouldn't just be thrown in just to be thrown in. But, to give them a big role. Like, even in Ant-Man, Hope Van Dyke, like there was this article I saw on it was either the AV Club or Comic Book Resources, and it was titled like how Ant-Man failed the legacy of the Wasp. And it was really interesting, which is the reason that like I wanted to do this topic, because they kind of really made her like kind of like a side note in the movie. Like she was in it a lot, but like, you know, when you saw Hank like be like, no, I can't put you in the danger, like he's kind of being, and you know, and like she can kick ass, like we saw that.
Yeah. But that's just because he was afraid of losing her, not because he didn't
but
think that she couldn't do it.
That kind of set into motion, like that kind of put her into a certain role, and like it's another thing. Like obviously you can't avoid tropes, and it's not like tropes can be bad all the time, but I feel like the tropes overshadowed her character. And at the end, yeah, like he's like, all right, I found faith in you, and like. Not that he didn't have faith, but like
she's a better fighter than Scott.
Yeah, which is you know, and if he, you know, at the end at least, you know, he finally realized, you know, she doesn't need my protection, and gave her the new Wasp suit. Like that's a big deal. And, you know, obviously the Wasp is a huge character regardless, but you know, that's just something that whoever wrote the article felt like he said straight up that they failed her legacy. And I
don't think that's that true.
I don't think that they failed her legacy. I just think that
I think they're building a new legacy for her.
Yeah, hopefully. She's not scheduled to appear in Civil War as far as we know, but you know, that's not the last we'll see of Ant-Man anyway.
No, there'll be an Ant-Man 2, and it's gonna be Scott and what's her name in the movie again?
Hope Van Dyne, I think.
Yeah.
It is. But yeah, you know, and she can even be in one of or both of the next Avengers movies.
Yeah, I mean, Infinity War. I'm really curious to see how many superheroes they fit in that movie.
It's, you know, honestly, for as many characters that Civil War is gonna have, hero and villain wise, there's gotta be even more.
It's gonna be triple.
In both Avengers movies, like it's gonna be crazy. But you know, it's
I wish they. I know it's part 1 and part 2, but I really want an Avengers movie with just those new Avengers that were introduced at the end of Age of Ultron.
That I think that'd be great, because those are all.
I feel like that's gonna be Civil War though.
I think that's basically probably what it's gonna be, because they're all in Civil War, and you know what? Those are all great characters. Like I love every single one of them. So I think Civil War is basically gonna be their Avengers movie, even though it's
not an Avengers movie.
It's not an Avengers movie. It might as well be.
It might as well be like it might. Yeah. I mean, is Iron Man's freaking in it?
Everybody's in it except for Thor and Hulk, basically. If you think about it, from the Avengers team.
Yeah. Jeremy Renner's in it?
Yeah. Basically, everybody else of the Avengers that's not Thor and Hulk is going to be in it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm more excited for not just because it's tangible, like I can see it. Well, tangible is something you can feel, but I mean, I could see it.
Possible.
Yeah.
You mean, yeah.
It's like I'm more excited for Civil War than I am for Avengers Infinity War. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Civil War ends up being a better movie.
Yeah. But you know what? Both Avengers movies are going to be directed by the Russo brothers.
That's right.
And they did an amazing job with Winter Soldier. They're going to, I think, you know, given the story of Civil War, it's going to be better than Winter Soldier.
And you know what I really love about the Russo brothers? Because this really goes back into our topic. That was the strongest Black Widow.
Yeah.
I feel like
hands down.
Hands down. And I'm really excited for them to see, like, you know, hopefully they kind of bring out more of like a, you know, an evolution of female characters, because they did it. And, you know, Joss Whedon has always been great with female characters and in the past, but like with Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
This is going back to
wants to direct a Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah. This is just like a callback to our previous topic. There's this one interview that happened with George R.R. Martin, and he goes, oh, like, how do you write women in such a strong way? He goes, well, I've always considered them people, which, I guess some writers don't, which was just like,
yeah,
it's funny. It's kind of true, but, it's at least, somebody who's that big of a figure right now to say something like that. And yeah, Joss has done a great job with female characters, and I think the Russo brothers did a great job with Black Widow. They did a great job on Community utilizing, the main actresses on that.
Yeah, I think Marvel's getting that criticism, but I don't think it's going to last very long.
No, I don't think it is either, and I think that the reason they're getting it is because, DC, technically their cinematic universe so far only has had one movie premiere because Green Lantern didn't count. Basically,
they're just ignoring that. It's so weird though that like it took. I mean, I guess it was the same with Iron Man, but with DC, like they're getting the ball rolling quick.
They really are. Like, it took Marvel how many movies to get to the Avengers? It's gonna take DC 3 or 4 movies to get to Justice League.
Yeah, they're just gonna do Justice League.
Yeah,
it's like
they're not even giving every character a solo movie first. They're just going right into it. Basically,
what year does Justice League come out?
I think 2019, or maybe 18. One of them.
That's annoying. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a bright future for female characters.
Yeah,
but I'm excited to see. I think it's gonna be, but also too, it's gonna make it really exciting for when we start to see movies where it is female superheroes. Like if we ever get a She-Hulk movie, or like,
I mean, unfortunately,
I would love a Batgirl movie, like a Barbara Gordon Batgirl.
Yeah,
movie.
Or even if we don't get like a full like Batgirl movie, like just to have her be like a big role in a Batman movie would be great. Or even like a
not the Batman and Robin role.
No, that was terrible. But if you think about the Arkham games, sure, you don't really see her much. I mean, in the new one you see her more, but she was still really important.
Yeah, even in a wheelchair, as Oracle, like she played an intricate role, and
she was a crucial member of the Batman family.
Yeah,
but in Arkham Knight, one of the new DLCs, you get to play as Batgirl, which was cool.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for bringing that over.
All right, listen, I'm sorry. You didn't remind me. But yeah, it was cool. You told me, several drinks in last night.
He was several drinks in. I had one. That usually doesn't happen though.
Yeah.
Actually, it's probably usually the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah, regardless. But yeah, I think
you were fine.
I know, but still. All right, but regardless, it's not that. The reason I brought this up is because it's becoming like a big thing now, and it's not, I didn't really realize it until I started reading about the more articles that came out. Like that's when I realized like, oh yeah, they're kind of right. Like I'd never thought of it like that, but it's, and like now that, in Hollywood in general, like a big controversy is how all the main actresses who maybe, probably get as much or more screen time than their male counterparts get paid a lot less. Like I know Scarlett Johansson got paid like shit compared to the male actors.
Yeah, I mean,
like even the ones that weren't Robert Downey Jr.
Well, yeah, apparently if you weren't RDJ, it's like you just didn't get paid that much.
Yeah. But even then, like
Joss Whedon did not. Like, he even publicly said with Avengers 1, he's like, I'm not getting Downey money.
Yeah, nobody's getting down. Nobody will get Downey.
Nobody
money.
Ever will get. That's not even a male-female thing. That's just because he's Robert Downey Jr.
For Civil War, he's already scheduled to get $50 million, and that's before he gets any box office money.
He'll never stop playing Iron Man.
No, even if we never see another Iron Man solo movie again.
How much does Chris Evans you think he gets?
Well, now he's getting more after Avengers because, after Avengers 1, like, the non-Robert Downey Jr. actors, got real pissed about it, especially consider how much money they make.
Yeah.
He definitely got a raise, especially for Civil War and, like, definitely for Age of Ultron. Like, they're getting more money now.
It's weird how much money actually goes to the actors. Like, and it's like, you know what it is? It's like all those stars are becoming big now. Like, it's not like Robert Downey Jr. brings in the money for Marvel as much as anybody else. So, like, Mark Ruffalo is way bigger now than he ever used to be. Chris Evans, like, he's been acting. Marvel saved his career.
Yeah, I mean,
he was Johnny Storm.
He provided him, and this goes for the same for directors and in the MCU and, like, other actors. Like, it kind of either will relaunch their career or sets up their career. Like, Scarlett Johansson was a successful actress before this.
Yeah, she didn't need
but now
money.
She's getting bigger roles too.
Right.
As a result, and it's a good stepping stone for them. Like, yeah, Chris Evans being Captain America has afforded him more scripts. It's afforded him more opportunities to be in movies, good movies.
He directed a movie that's coming out later this year.
Yeah,
supposedly it's going to be pretty good.
That's something he really wants to do. He wants to become a director, and I think that the success he's getting from the MCU is going to afford him better scripts, better opportunities, and the same goes for any of the actors and actresses in it.
I still think Chris Evans is awesome in Another Teen Movie.
Yes, that is a good movie.
That movie is so funny.
He was great. Yeah. You know what? I'm glad that he got to be another superhero after those Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah, he got a second chance.
Yeah. But I think that's gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like going back to what we said. Like I said this 100 times, but it's a bright future. We're gonna in the next couple of years, you'll start to hear and see a lot more females in bigger roles and leading roles.
Yeah. Yeah, and and it's still a hot topic right now, and I think the reason Marvel gets more shit for it than anybody is because of how big the MCU is and how successful it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it will change, and understandably it should. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Anything to end off with, Pat? Just
yeah. Listen to this. Like, comment, share, subscribe, download it on iTunes. We just got a new RSS feed, so all the previous episodes, like the last 3 or 4, haven't been able to get on iTunes, but now they will. Even if you don't listen to it afterwards or before, just do it for us.
Just tell people about us. We want we want to not work ever again.
Yeah,
they want this to be our jobs.
Like, I mean, we're obviously going to get rich from this anyway, but just make it happen sooner.
I don't want to rob a bank.
Connor's willing to do dirty things for you.
Yeah, like so much landscaping.
And manscaping. But yeah, I mean, obviously, we'd appreciate it. Even if you don't give a shit about it, just put it on Facebook, like it, whatever. And if you do listen to it, thank you.
Yeah, you're the real MVP. You're Bay if you listen to this.
Yeah, and if any of you want to be on that aren't named Robbie or Evan, let us know, and we plan on getting a third mic soon. So if you want to come on, just let us know. Hit us up. We'll work something out.
Yeah, just text us. Be like, hey, what's your subjects? Because it's obviously
obviously, if you want to come on and talk about something, we don't have to do something like we already have planned.
We'll cater to you.
Yeah, we'll cater to you. We'll rub your feet, all that shit.
You can drink my beer.
All right.
I think that's enough.
Yeah. Let's just keep this going for her as long as possible until it stops recording.
How long, Pat?
Okay, ready? Bye.